What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Action Network podcast presented by DraftKings. I'm your host, Chris Raybon. It's NFL Wildcard weekend. We're going to give you anytime touchdowns for every single team that is in action on Wildcard weekend. I'm going to have Sean Koerner with me. I'm going to have Gilles Gallant with me. And last week, those guys hit on a few touchdowns as well. Parker Washington, Drake London, Travion Henderson, Tank Bigsby. Today, again, we'll go through all of the wild card weekend slate, game by game, team by team. If you want to tail some of these bets, look for the quick slip link in the podcast and video description, or go to actionnetwork.com/bet now. Before we get into these touchdowns, I'll toss it over to myself for a word from our sponsor, DraftKings. The Action Network podcast is sponsored by DraftKings Sportsbook, and in partnership with DraftKings, our listeners get a great offer. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $300 back in bonus bets if your bet wins. Love the thrill of live betting? DraftKings has got you covered. Bet live on star player props and in-progress games right as they happen. To get started, use promo code ActionNetwork when signing up with DraftKings. That's code ActionNetwork when signing up with DraftKings for $300 back in bonus bets if your bet wins. The crown is yours. All right, fellas, it's good to be back. We're gonna go each with a touchdown from each game here. I think we have every team covered, so three touchdowns per game, one from each of us. Koerner, you're up first. Saturday slate: Los Angeles Rams going to Carolina to face the Panthers. Interesting nugget, largest spread ever for a road favorite, and a team favored by anything more than 7 points is never covered on the road in the entire postseason history of the NFL. So with that said, are you expecting the Rams to put up a ton of touchdowns here, or what are you thinking?
Yeah, I probably is going to be a lower scoring game, but I think they win pretty easily here. So I'm going to go with Colby Parkinson at plus 280. Tyler Higbee returned last week. Devontae Adams is expected to return here as well. So, both those guys returning are going to eat into Parkinson's usage quite a bit. Adams under 4.5 receptions is by far my favorite bet of the game. Raybon, I told you I locked that in like on Monday. I think he could be limited early on. Obviously he's going to be a threat once they get to the red zone. But I think once they get to the red zone, they're still going to have heavy tight end personnel where, Higbee, Parkinson, maybe even Davis Allen are out there as well. So I still think Parkinson has some touchdown upside here. Plus, this is a great matchup for tight ends against the Panthers. They rank 30th in DVOA against the position. So his odds, are higher now with, Higbee and Adams back, but I'm still showing some slight value here with him at plus 280. The backup tight ends, Mitchell Evans and Davis Allen, are actually showing the most value in the prop tool. But since we're doing a parlay, I wanted to go with the guy a little bit more likely. But both those guys are probably good individual bets, along with Tremble as well. But I think this could be a game with, quite a few touchdowns by tight ends.
Yeah, the Panthers last week, they mixed in some 1-3 personnel and a lot of 1-2, and that's why. And Jalen Coker was actually the receiver in single wide receiver sets. Jill, that is called a tee up.
Yes, a little bit of foreshadowing, as they call it. Jalen Coker, yeah, that's who I like to score. He's around plus 320. Only 3 touchdowns this year, but starting to emerge as that wide receiver 2 in this offense. His snap share and route run rate have increased just as the season has gone along, and Xavier Legette has kind of been regressed down to that wide receiver 3 role. And the Rams, they play zone coverage at a top 5 rate. He's actually had some pretty decent metrics against zone this year. And I think another thing too, if you think back to that last matchup, they got really burned by Ted McMillan there at the end of the game. I don't think that they're going to allow that. I think they're going to rotate coverage and try to double him. And I think that's going to open up more targets for Coker, especially since he's lining up more in the slot, around a 60% slot rate in this offense. So I think that's the way that you would want to attack that Rams defense. Jalen Coker is who I like. Anything over 3-1.
Yeah, I like Coker as well. At times, he's been lately the number 1 receiver, even over Tet, if you're playing in single receiver sets. So like him, and I like Tommy Tremble as well. He's 6-1 And a lot of the things you said about Coker are working in Tremble's favor too. Now as that lead tight end, tight ends usually do better against zone coverage. He can play some snaps in the slot as well. And with Jatavian Sanders out, Tremble's a full-time player. His rate of pass snaps played went up to 88% last week. That was a season high. And if you're playing 88% of the snaps in a game like this, I think you're always going to be a good bet at 6-1. We don't expect a ton of fireworks from Bryce Young, but you could have a trailing game script. Tremble would still be on the field there with whichever three receivers probably would get as the third one. But Tremble would be on the field no matter what. He was the guy that he was top 3 in red zone routes against Tampa Bay, along with Tet and Jalen Coker. So like Tommy Tremble at 6-1. All right. And one final note about Tremble before we move on to Packers Bears. For his career, obviously usually a backup, but 8 of 17 in terms of converting red zone targets into touchdowns in his career. So that is highly efficient. The average pass catcher is going to be around 25%, 25-30%. He's nearly at 50%. So like Tremble, let's go to Packers Bears. Should be a good one. Koerner. I think I know where you're going. I think there's a certain Bears player who you're pretty high on.
Yep, gonna go with my guy Luther Burden III here at plus 250. He's really broken out ever since Roma Odunze has missed the last few games. It helped, force Ben Johnson to play Burden a little bit more. And even with Odunze back, I can't imagine Burden goes back to, 50% route run rate. I think he's still going to be around the 65% range, maybe even higher. Who knows? But he's already a stud. He's averaging 2.7 yards per route run, which only trails Puka Nacua and JSN. So he's already pretty elite as a rookie. He's only going to get better, I think. So, his odds are all the way down to plus 250 now. But if you're betting on a stud and you can get them at plus 250, you do it. So I'm still showing some value on him at plus 250. So I'm gonna lock him in here.
Yeah, and he can, he's one of those guys with that speed. Maybe he can even break a long one. Packers don't usually give up those explosives, but he does have the speed to run away from people. Joe, who are you looking at in Packers Bears?
Yeah, I think on the Packers side, I'm going to go with who I think is their best game breaker, and that's Jaden Reed. He's around plus 250. I know he hasn't scored since he came back from injury, but the involvement in the offense is really encouraging for a touchdown prop. In 5 games since he returned, he's seen the same route participation rate as Romeo Doubs, and he's second in total targets behind Christian Watson. And I like that he's lining up a lot in the slot at the 73% rate. And the Bears defense, they've allowed 20 touchdowns to wide receivers this year, but the third most touchdowns to slot wide receivers. And I think the Bears corners are a much tougher matchup for Romeo Doubs and Christian Watson and Jalen Johnson and maybe even Tyreek Stevenson. But I just think also there's some rushing upside as well. Jet sweeps near the goal line for Jaden Reed. So I think this is kind of the game where we want to use him and grab him around plus 250.
So I'm actually going to go with the unsexy choice in this game for the Bears, and that's DJ Moore at plus 370. I just think that these odds are way out of whack because we do love Burden. We love, Loveland, who's come on. And then you have Odunze back, and so Moore's kind of getting lost in the sauce. But I have his odds similar to Odunze and Burden's in this game. I only have him playing about 75% of the snaps because, Koerner, to your point, we don't know exactly how it's gonna break down. And I still show massive value on DJ Moore, who scored 5 touchdowns in his last 7 games. He has 2 multiple touchdown games. I know guys were out, namely Odunze, but now you're going to, as a defense, you got to plan for Odunze, you got to plan for Burden, and you got to plan for Loveland. Moore's probably the least likely guy at this point that you're, rotating coverage to if you're game planning for the Chicago Bears. So I like his odds to get some single coverage here and get it in the end zone plus 370. Again, I have it closer to where Burden and Odunze are at. And, those guys are under plus 300. So give me DJ Moore here. All right. We'll get to the Sunday slate. We got 3 games. on Sunday. But before we do, don't forget to sign up for Action Pro for real-time pick alerts from experts like Sean Koerner, myself, Grant Neefer, our entire Action Network team. Plus, you can access our pro projections powered by Koerner and the predictive analytics team. Just go to actionnetwork.com/pro and get $20 off the annual price with promo code POD20. That's POD20. Don't miss out on the best bets at the best prices. Visit actionnetwork.com/pro and use promo code POD20 to get $20 off a year of Action Pro. All right, Sunday, I'm looking forward to this game. Bills at Jaguars. Koerner, who do you like?
Yeah, so I'm going to go with Parker Washington here at plus 200. I was actually going to go with Ty Johnson here. He's showing the most value in our prop tool, but he missed practice again today. So,
yeah,
I mean, his availability is in danger. Raybon, I know you've mentioned like Bills players and they miss practice when they're questionable later in the week. Not looking good. So, I mean, there's a chance he suits up.
He got hurt trying to get those incentives. He got hurt trying to get incentives.
He got 2 touchdowns last week.
Yeah, he got him. I mean, he got him.
So,
but...
I mean, what does he got to play for now? So, yeah, I mean, you don't need to twist my arm to bet on Parker Washington. So I have no problem going back to Washington again this week. Came through for me last week. He had 5 catches, 87 yards, touchdown. Just continues to be one of the biggest surprises of the season. So, he continues to be a top 2 target in this offense. A lot of times he's the top target for Trevor Lawrence. So this is a matchup where obviously, the Bills are a run funnel defense. I expect the Jaguars to kind of lean on the run early on, but this is a game. It could turn into a rare trailing game script for the Jaguars where they have to throw more anyway. So this is a game. Anytime Parker Washington's 2-1 or better right now, you have to consider him. And I'm projecting him closer to about plus 180 here. So I think we're still showing some value on Parker at plus 200 here.
Yeah, we've come a long way because I have Parker Washington under shorter than plus 200 as well. And that just kind of came out of nowhere. You got Myers there, you got Strange there, you got, of course, BTJ. So a great season for Parker Washington. Jill, who do we like in Bills Jags?
Well, and I don't disagree with Sean that the Jags might throw a little bit more, but I still think from a running standpoint, this is a prime matchup for Travis Etienne, and I'm going to take him actually to score 2 touchdowns. He's around plus 450 for that. I think he's going to be in line for like 20-plus carries, maybe even 4-plus catches. The run defense is just such an obvious weakness by the Bills. They've allowed the most rushing touchdowns by running backs. Bashaw Tutin is obviously around. Trevor Lawrence could vulture a touchdown, but Etienne's volume for me is just too hard to ignore. He leads the Jaguars in red zone carries, 5th overall in the NFL with 53. He nearly doubles Tutin in any red zone split, whether it be 20 yards, 10 yards, 5-yard lines. He has double the red zone carries in that spot, and also just been an effective receiver. So if they are in a trailing script, I don't think they're going to see him off the field. 6 receiving touchdowns this year. He actually led all the Jaguars in targets inside the 10-yard line this year. So I think Travis Etienne, this is kind of the emergence, re-emergence, I guess, from after his nice third-year breakout. But I think in this game at plus 450, I love him to score 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, I think he's going to get fed in this one. And that hasn't always been the case around the goal line, but in this spot, I do think he'll be out there, at least get that first crack at it.
Yeah.
Over to, and obviously Trevor Lawrence also a threat, but his odds are way out of whack. I think they're down to like plus 180 or something ridiculous like that. Like that is just absurd for a quarterback. That's not Josh Allen. I'm going to go with Dalton Kincaid at plus 255. And this Jaguar defense, they play a ton of zone coverage, and that is usually going to lead to, tight ends, running backs having more success in the pass game than receivers. That's especially true of Buffalo because Buffalo, we know their receivers are not in the best spot right now. I mean, they're not in the best spot with their receivers. They're healthy scratching a different guy every game, just trying to figure out a rotation here. So if we've noticed, they've kind of bubble wrapped Kincaid these last 6 weeks or so. He's missed some practice time. He's missed some game time. But in week 18, they let him get a quarter to kind of get ready for the playoffs, I guess. That kind of signals to me, combined with all the bubble wrapping, that they're going to use him heavily. Ton of upside for him. His season-long average route participation rate, 52%. So he has upside to get 70, 80% if there's a trailing game script, or if they're just, planning to kind of use him as that essential de facto like number one or number two receiver. So I think there's a lot of upside here. And you look at the Jags, they struggled against wide receivers earlier in the year, but their corners have really come on. And since week 9, so second half of the year, Jacksonville defense, 5 touchdowns allowed to tight ends, just 4 to wide receivers over that span. So usually you see wide receivers get many more touchdowns than tight ends. So that is notable. Give me Kincaid at plus 255. Niners, Eagles, rematch of that championship game a couple years ago. Koerner, who do you like for San Francisco at Philly?
I'm going to go chalky here. I'm going to go with A.J. Brown at plus 160. He's just playing at such a high level right now. 4 touchdowns now over the final 6 games of the season. And this is just a great matchup because the Niners have probably the worst defense of all the playoff teams. They rank 26 in DVOA against the pass. And ever since Nick Bosa went down back in week 3, they've had the second lowest pressure rate. So, Hurts should have a pretty clean pocket here. Less reason for him to, take off and scramble. So it could be some more pass attempts here because, the Niners offense could put up points against this really good Eagles defense and kind of force more of a shootout. So, I'm projecting AJ closer to plus 145 here. So, yeah, I think we're showing a little bit of value on AJ at plus 160.
I hope it's not a shootout. I'm going to be on the under in this game. I feel like the Niners have been like a stone cold under team when they don't score. So that was my angle there. But that's for another.
Yeah, and Trent Williams is looking dicey, right? Or he's not practicing. So
of course, it's the playoffs. Out. It's the Niners. They're like 2 more guys are going to get hurt between the time we record this. Like a linebacker, like they're starting. Like Kendrick's probably just tripped and fell down or something like right now.
Yeah, well, have you seen the theory, the electrical plant that they practice next to? It's by the stadium.
Oh no, I haven't seen that. It
like loosen, like it makes your cartilage and tendons like more prone to. I don't even know if it's like been debunked or anything, but I'll take anything because something is up with the Niners because it's been like a decade now, or ever since they moved to Levi Stadium, right? So I'll take any theory anybody's got, but it's been going around Twitter.
I think it's what is it? Is it Occam's razor? When it's the simplest theory.
Occam's razor.
Yeah, Occam's. Oh, yeah. Occam. Yeah, I don't even know who that is, but shouts to Occam. I think it's shout out Occam.
Occam, if you're listening,
shout out Ock. Yo, Ock. Kyle Shanahan. He's been there almost that long, and he practices them really hard. Some teams like the Bucs were complaining that Todd Bowles, it was just all walkthroughs down the stretch. Kyle Shanahan, like they're gonna go through one of the. I think it's a Thursday practice, or like usually with that middle practice of the week, they go really hard. So I'm guessing. I think that has a lot to do with it. But Jill, I digress. Who do you like in Niners Eagles to score?
Yeah, if it's a 49er, I'm going to run this bit into the ground. I am taking Juwan Jennings for an anytime touchdown. He's around plus 250. And clearly this is going to be the toughest matchup of the year for him, probably likely matching up with Quinyon Mitchell. But I don't care because I have bet on Juwan Jennings now. Each game over the last 9 games, he has scored for me in 7 of them. And really showing a great chemistry with Brock Purdy. And the one thing I like about Jennings, especially when you're looking at how he matches up, man coverage, zone coverage, it hasn't really mattered. He's been getting targeted either way. He has a higher target per route run against both. He's seeing end zone targets. I think he also could see a lot of one-on-one looks against Quinyon Mitchell because of how much attention Christian McCaffrey and George Kittle are going to draw by that opposing defense. So I think at plus 250, that's kind of anything over 2-1 for me. I love Jennings in this spot.
Yeah, Purdy doesn't usually come off his top read or his, first 2 reads. And so it's a very concentrated touchdown share most weeks for the Niners. Love Jennings as well. If the Niners score a touchdown, that is, this could be bad for them. But for Philly, I got to go back to Philly here because I don't know that I trust the Niners at all in this spot. Just a really tough matchup. So I'm gonna go even chalkier than you, Kurt. I'm gonna go with Saquon Barkley. I do show a little bit of value on him to score, and the difference between last season and this season, and especially down the stretches, they're kind of switching it up in terms of Jalen Hurts just getting all the rushing touchdowns, getting all, just everything's a tush push. Now they have, plays off the tush push that are passes. They have plays off the tush push that are pitches to Barkley. So he's scoring more of those, red zone touchdowns, like not necessarily always at the goal line. That's going to be, kind of hit or miss depending on where you end up. But he's scoring a lot more touchdowns, in like that 20 to 5 yard range. And I think this Niner defense, they'll be vulnerable there because they don't tend to stack the box a ton. They do it at the lowest rate in the league. I don't think that's necessarily going to change too much here. And they don't give up explosives in the pass game, even though they're a bad defense. So you tend to have to still methodically drive down the field. I think that's what the Niners' game plan is going to be against Philly, given how Jalen Hurts in that pass game has struggled at times. So I could see Barkley getting a lot of opportunities here. And they've started to kind of give the ball to him more down the stretch. 3 rushing touchdowns in his last 4 games, and also has connected with Hurts on a couple of receiving touchdowns. And that's big because the Niners have no linebackers. So I could see, Barkley getting, kind of an advantageous matchup. He usually plays more in the pass game in the playoffs. Last year, he went from playing about 70% of the time to about 85% of the time in the pass game once the postseason started. So a lot of reasons to like Saquon here at minus 120. So we'll go with the chalk there. Like him a lot more than Hurts in this one. Chargers at the New England Patriots. Koerner, who are we looking at in Chargers Pats?
I'm going to go with Pop Douglas here at plus 700. Actually, one of the top edges in the prop tool right now because I'm projecting him closer to plus 500. But, he's been playing well all season, but his routes run rate has really been capped like in the 30% range for most of the season. But, with Mac Hollins on IR, I think it's opened up some additional snaps for him. And we kind of saw that, last week he had a 43% routes run rate, which is the highest since week 3. But he's been able to make an impact in limited playing time. He sees, some downfield targets here and there, but, if he ends up playing a couple more snaps per game in the playoffs with Hollins out, that's massive for his upside. And it doesn't hurt that he has, an MVP candidate and Drake May throwing him the ball, which certainly helps. So, I'm projecting this closer to plus 500. I think he has some sneaky upside here. Yeah,
and it's crazy how he kind of reinvented his game, just more of a downfield threat this year. It used to be just everything underneath. So, he has like kind of like a poor man's Jaden Reed kind of odds, I think. You don't know exactly how much he's going to play, but he's explosive and he's going to get his shots. He's going to get his shots. Yeah.
Wasn't he the guy that went first 100 catches of his career without a touchdown or something too? Was that him?
Either him or Myers. Was it both?
Jacoby Myers. Yeah, that's right. And Kendrick Bourne, he was kind of that role, but now he's kind of like a deep threat kind of guy.
Yeah, I mean he didn't get many touchdowns himself either. So his rookie year he went 79 targets and at 49 catches without one. Year 2, 3 on 66 catches, and then this year 3 on 31 catches.
Who do you have thrown him his rookie year? Was that Mac?
Had to be, right? 2023. Yeah. Mac and Zappy, I guess.
Zappy.
Yeah, Zappy 6 starts. Yeah.
Yeah, and then last year he had Brissett for way too many games. So now he has a real quarterback, at least.
I mean, yeah, it wasn't Cardinals Brissett, I guess. It was
true.
yeah. Joe, who do we like in Chargers Patriots?
So I haven't bet a quarterback touchdown yet for the weekend. I think Justin Herbert is who I'm targeting right now at plus 550. He only has 2 rushing touchdowns this year, but he's 4th amongst all quarterbacks in total scrambles. And he even still showed that he will run with the ball with a broken hand. He averaged just over 7 carries per game since that hand injury. And you're facing a Patriots team that tends to play a lot of cover 1, a lot of man coverage. I think that could put Herbert right in line near the goal line to call his own number. So anything over 5-1, I'm loving Justin Herbert to score a touchdown on that Patriots defense.
I'm going to roll with Stephon Diggs at plus 175. Another guy with some unrealized upside because most of the year he's been around a 70% route participation rate, but we've seen in important games essentially getting, true wide receiver 1 snaps around, 85, 90%. I think that could very well be the case in this matchup. And the Chargers have been a very good defense all year. But if you look at their schedule adjusted numbers, they tend to give up the most targets to number one receivers. I mean, that's just, you don't really have to kind of go your number two and your number three guys. Like they take that away. They're good against tight ends and backs. So I think Diggs is really going to be busy in this matchup. And he's another guy bubble wrapped pretty much the entire season. Not only do you take off the bubble wrap here, but you also got Mac Hollins, who is a little bit of a red zone threat, out of the picture. Kyle Williams in his place with some Pop Douglas. So I think overall that tilts the odds a little more in Diggs' favor. So love Stephon Diggs here. I think this is the type of game that they got him for. They're not going to be shy with targeting him. All right, final game, Monday Night Football. We'll do a parlay for this one. Then we'll do our favorite parlay of the weekend, like our favorite touchdown of the weekend. So we'll do two parlays, starting with the Monday night game, and then just our favorite from the entire weekend. But Koerner, Texans, Steelers, low total game. I think it's 38.5. Who we looking at to get in the end zone here in the final game of Wildcard weekend?
I'm going to go with Woody Marks here at plus 185. He's really been their workhorse back for most of the season. And, it's interesting to see last week they had Nick Chubb was a healthy scratch. Not sure if that was just a way to give him, veteran rest, or, he's been demoted to the clear number 3 back. And, back up your guy, Raybon Jordan, has flashed over the last few weeks, but he left last week early with an ankle injury. Not even clear if he's going to suit up this week. So if he's limited or out, this could be just heavy workload for Woody Marks. Either way, I like Marks here just because this is a game they'll probably lean on Marks a bit more. And he's shown he's capable of scoring rushing touchdowns. He has 3 this year, but more importantly, 3 receiving touchdowns. I think he has a lot of upside as a pass catching back. So he has multiple, different ways to get there. So I'm actually projecting him closer to plus 135 here. So I like the value we're getting at plus 185.
Yeah, Woody Marks. I mean, it seems like they're trying to give him tune-ups and get him ready to go. We've seen them give him just massive workloads in some games. So it'll be interesting to see. I think he could be in for another one here. Gilles, who do we like in Texans Steelers?
All right. This is my favorite touchdown bet of the week. It is Nico Collins. He's around plus 155. I know the Texans have looked shaky at times on offense. I think this is a dream matchup for Collins. You're facing a Steelers team that's top 5 in man coverage rate and top 5 in single high safety. He leads the Texans in targets per route run and yards per route run against those coverages. And I also think the Steelers, their offense is going to be in trouble. I'm not sure they're going to be able to move the ball that well. And I think that's going to give the Texans more possessions for chances to score. And then also there's just some historical precedent as well. Nico's had some pretty good postseason games, 4 career playoff games. He's seen at least 7 or more targets. He's scored in 2 of them. I think he's going to catch like a 40-yard bomb touchdown in this game, especially with how the Steelers, from a defensive DVOA perspective, they're very low against the deep ball, but much better against the short range pass. I think CJ Stroud is going to be able to find him up the seam, and I think Nico Collins is going to score another postseason touchdown. So give him to me at plus 155.
Yeah, he's always, I think, the guy you think of for Houston, because a lot of these other guys, they just kind of cancel each other out. They're all playing like 50% of the snaps. So yeah, if it's got to be, if it's not Marks or Collins, I guess Jaden Higgins would be the only other guy that even comes to mind there. Schultz, not a big touchdown scorer, but I'm going to go with a Pittsburgh guy here because, come on, this is Mike Tomlin, Steelers, home underdog, rah-rah spot, playoff, CJ Stroud outdoors going on the road. Like, the Steelers are going to find a way to have some voodoo here. So the guy I'm looking at is Pat Freiermuth at 4-1. And I do think Houston will be able to make DK Metcalf's return look a lot like last week when he wasn't even there, because I know Lassiter hasn't practiced, but I expect him to be back. And, Stingley did practice on a limited basis. So they're going to have the guys on the outside to shut down DK Metcalf. The rest of those wide receivers, you don't really expect them to make noise in the red zone. And, I think Collinsworth was talking about in that last game against the Ravens, how the Ravens were essentially giving Freiermuth like the Travis Kelce treatment. Like, they were just straight up doubling him in the red zone. Houston, we'll see what they do, but I just think, with Metcalf probably covered, Freiermuth is going to be that guy. Like Rodgers may even force a throw or two into him. So love him at 4-1, showing a lot of value there. And the Texans, that's been how you get them. Since week 8, they've allowed 7 touchdowns to tight ends, not much to wide receivers. And, on the ground, it's been kind of hit or miss as well, because they're just the best defense in the league statistically. So tight ends are kind of the way you have to beat the Texans. I think Pat Freiermuth comes through here for Pittsburgh. All right, you parlay Marks to score. You parlay Nico Collins to get in the end zone with Pat Freiermuth as well. Marks, Collins, Freiermuth, same game parlay, 34-1 over at DraftKings. That is our Monday Night Football parlay for Wildcard Weekend, Texans, Steelers. All right, before we get out of here, as I mentioned, we're going to give just our favorite touchdown bet of Wildcard Weekend. We'll combine those into a parlay. So here is our favorite Wildcard Weekend anytime touchdown parlay presented by DraftKings. Koerner, you're up first. Who's your favorite touchdown scorer of this 6-game slate?
This shouldn't be too surprising, but I'm going to go with Luther Burden III at plus 250. I've given enough Luther Burden propaganda the last couple of months. So just like Ben Johnson said, dude's a stud. So he's still my favorite play here at plus 250.
Joe, who are we looking at?
Yeah, my favorite bet is Nico Collins, stud wide receiver facing a man coverage heavy defense. I think this is one where he could score and might even score twice.
And I'm going to go with Pat Freiermuth. He's a guy I'm showing the most value on. I just think that, even with Metcalf back, he's going to be occupied with those great Texan corners. And we always know the Steelers find a way here. So 4-1, love Freiermuth. You parlay Luther Burden, anytime touchdown, Nico Collins, anytime touchdown, Pat Freiermuth, anytime touchdown. And you get odds of just over 39-1 at DraftKings, plus 39.20 to be exact. That was our favorite anytime touchdown parlay for Wildcard Weekend, presented by DraftKings. And we'll add those parlays to the Parlay Express account in the Action Network app. So if you don't have it already, go download it, follow Parlay Express, and you can kind of see what we're doing with some of the longer shots that we're thinking for this weekend. All of these bets will be tracked here on Parlay Express, so be sure to follow that. And while you're looking at Parlay Express, be sure to sign up for Action Pro as well. It's the only way for you to get the best bets at the best prices with immediate notifications when Action Network experts track their picks. You can also find quick slip links for these bets in the podcast description or visit actionnetwork.com/bet. Now that's going to do it for our NFL Wildcard Weekend Touchdown Show presented by DraftKings. Thanks to Sean Koerner and Gilles Gallant for joining me. You can find Koerner on X at @_oddsmaker. Gilles is at GDawg5000, GDAWG5000. I'm at Chris Raybon. We're at those same handles at the free award-winning Action Network app. And if you haven't yet, check out our new AI quick slip bot on X. It's called Playbook. Just tag @Playbook. Tell it to grab whatever bets you're looking at, and it will create a quick slip link for you in a matter of seconds. You can send it screenshots as well. Very cool. So be sure to check that out. Until the divisional round, let's get this money.